So here's the template for our sign up form. As you can see here, we have a simple Bootstrap form. Now we want to take this and convert it to an Angular form using the reactive approach. So in the last section, you saw that with template-driven forms, we apply the ng-model directive to our input fields, and this directive will internally create an instance of the form control class and associate it with the input field. Now, when building reactive forms, we should create these form control objects explicitly in the code. So let's go to our sign-up form component. First on the top, I want to import a couple of classes. So import form group and form control from @Angular/forms. Next, we need to define a field here. Let's call that form and set it to a new instance of the form group object. Now look at the constructor of this form group class. Here we have 3 parameters and the last 2 are optional. The first parameter includes the controls that are part of this form. So here we need to pass an object and the structure of this object should be like this. So we should have 1 or more key value pairs. Each key is a string and the value is an abstract control. What is abstract control? Well, in object-oriented programming languages, we have this concept called inheritance. So if you have multiple classes that should have some common behavior and properties, instead of implementing this common behavior and these common properties in multiple places, we define them once in a parent or a base class, and then have those other classes inherit these properties and behavior from their base class. So in Angular, abstract control is the base class for form control and form group. All the properties that are common between these 2 classes are actually defined in the abstract control class. So these classes simply inherit these properties from their parent. So back here, as the first argument here, we need to pass an object, and this object should have 1 or more key value pairs. Keys should be a string, and values should be abstract control objects. So we add an object. Here we need 2 key value pairs, one for the username and the other for password. So username, that's a string, and the value here should be an instance of a class that derives from abstract control. So we can either add a form control object here, or if you're dealing with a complex form that includes subgroups, we need to set this to a form group object. And this form group will then have 1 or more form control objects, okay? So here we need a form control. Now we can simplify this by removing the single quotes. So this is a valid key or a valid property in JavaScript. But if you're dealing with a name that includes some special characters like hyphen, let's say user-name, this is not a valid property or a valid key in JavaScript. So then we need to put this key in quotes like this. But in this demo, we don't really need this, so let's simplify this. So we have username, and then we need to add password, which is another form control object. So this is how we explicitly create form group and form control objects in code. Now we need to go to our template and associate our input fields with these form control objects. So here back in the template, first we need to apply a directive to our form element, that is form group. So just like we have form group here, we also have the form group directive here. With this directive, we associate this form element with an actual form group object that we created in our component. Now back in the component, the name of this object, or more accurately, the name of this field is form. So we need to go to our template and put that here. Now inside this group, we have 2 controls. One is the username and the other is password. So here's our input field for the username. Here we have another directive called form control name. And we set this to the name of the key in our form group object. So back in our component one more time, the name of this key is username. So let's go to our template. We set form control name to username. And similarly for our password field, once again, we apply the form control name directive and set this to password. Now back in the browser, we get this error. Can't bind to form group since it isn't a known property of form. You have seen this error before, right? If you go to Angular website and search for form group, look here we have form group directive. On this page, if you scroll down, you can see that this directive is defined in the reactive forms module. So all the directives for building reactive forms are defined in a separate module called reactive forms module that we need to explicitly import into our main module. So let's go to app.module. Here in the imports array, we're going to add reactive forms module. And of course, my auto import plugin automatically adds the import statement on the top. So here it is, import forms module and reactive forms module from Angular/forms. So both these modules are defined in this library. Okay, now back to the browser. So we don't have any errors in the console. Beautiful. And here's our form. So next I'm going to show you how to add validation to this form.